Hello guys, welcome to our next lecture, The Psychology of Shapes, Shaping Our Subconscious, How We View Shapes, many headlines. The purpose of this lecture is really just again to start expanding your thinking when you're working on your logo development and making sure that all of your design decisions that you're making for your logo are really supporting those emotions or attributes or characteristics that you're really trying to get your logo to convey about your company. So without further ado, here we go. So our subconscious minds respond in different ways to different logo shapes. Straight lines, circles, curves, jagged edges are all different shapes we're going to talk about today, and they all imply different meanings. So as skilled logo designers, we can definitely use our shapes to infer these particular qualities about the brand that we're working on. And you can kind of think about some of the logo shapes and maybe some of our brands that we are all really familiar with, like the Nike swoosh, that very active, sharp, powerful shape of the swoosh definitely has some psychological factors playing at work in that logo design, which probably helped it become such an iconic logo. All right, so without further ado, let's go over different types of shapes. So I'm going to go through this kind of quickly, and then I have a little cheat sheet for you to use as reference as you go do the exercise at the end of this lecture. So don't feel like you have to take copious notes. You can if that helps you retain the information, but I'm just going to throw a bunch of stuff out at you real fast, so I don't expect you to memorize it. So there is a cheat sheet at the end, so do not fret. Just enjoy the shapes. Okay, so there are two basic types of shapes, right? There are geometric shapes and there are organic shapes. Geometric shapes are basic shapes like squares, triangles, and circles, straight lines, those kind of shapes. And all of these basic geometric shapes really imply a sense of structure, organization, and symmetry. Versus our organic shapes, which are basically everything that's more natural in form. These are the curved shapes, the uneven shapes, the representative shapes, like it looks like a sun, or it looks like a teardrop, it looks like a tree. These are all of our organic shapes. So first we're going to talk about different geometric shapes, and within the geometric shapes family, each type of shape implies slightly different characteristics. So we'll go through those first. We're going to start with shapes with right angles. In general, shapes with right angles imply trust, stability, uniformity, honesty, quality, and security. And then more shapes with right angles would be things like a square, and a square in particular really connotes order, rationality, and formality. This sort of trapezoid, which has a sturdy wide base and a narrower top, is going to really talk about stability and growth. This is a really common shape you might see on some banking logos, and different logos that are really about stability. It's a very sturdy shape, right? It'd be hard to tip that guy over. Then if we have our square and we kind of skew it a little bit, all of a sudden it's talking about speed, right? That little shape is in motion. And then if we take that square and we just turn it on its tip, all of a sudden it's a big attention grabber, right? Think about your road signs in that shape. Think about point of purchase displays when you're at a store, back when we used to go to stores. All those big signs that would tell you like sale, discount, buy now. A lot of times those are in those big diamonds because they really grab your attention. Okay, so these are our shapes with right angles. So again, probably like a lot of these lectures, some of this information is going to seem like kind of like no duh. And some of it's going to be like, I never really thought about it, but that makes complete sense. So again, it's nothing super mind-blowing, but it's just something that maybe you've never really consciously thought about before. And if it's something that really intrigues you, the whole field of psychology is dedicated to these different visual perceptions. Okay, so now we're talking about triangles, aka three-sided structures. So a triangle is energetic. It's a leader. It represents action and direction, right? So it's a much more active shape than the square was. So triangle, some keywords are dynamic, strength, aggression, tension, balance, masculinity, and peace. I think peace is kind of a weird one after all those other words, but I didn't make these words up. So again, when we take our triangle and all of a sudden we tilt it onto its point, it's much more about action and direction, right? It's basically an arrow. It's pointing you in a certain direction. Think about if you had that triangle and you kind of used one of the points of the triangle to be pointing at other information or at another visual. That's where that sense of strength and aggression really can come in, right? Or tension, if it's and balance, if it's, teetering on its tip versus flat on one of its sides. The triangle can really become a very active shape and a very emotive shape. So round shapes, they are sort of both geometric and organic. You could have a full circle, you could have an ellipse, and they kind of dance in between the two worlds where we're not only talking about completeness and intellectualism, movement and eternity, you're also talking about these more ethereal qualities like love, protection, femininity, secrecy. So circle, much softer, more intellectual. Round shapes are also associated with spirituality. So think about things that are round, like the sun, the moon, the earth, those kinds of things, which I think is why these different adjectives are conjured up with the idea of circles or round shapes. Okay, back to geometry. Straight lines. So we're going to have vertical straight lines and then we're going to have horizontal straight lines. So our vertical straight lines are all about courage, domination, masculinity, boldness, aggression, growth. I think the growth definitely makes sense, right? Because it's going up. Again, this is a very active shape. It can be a very domineering shape, right? Depending on how thick your lines are, how many vertical lines you have. Maybe they're not completely straight up and down. Maybe they're at a bit of an angle. Again, they can start to feel very aggressive, very bold, very strong. Okay, then we have our horizontal lines, which are much more about calmness, rest, silence, and femininity. The opposite. Again, think about like the horizon line. Usually people find that very soothing, right, to look out into the distance. So, you're looking out into the distance, a nice calm ocean, nice calm field. So horizontal is a much calmer line than the vertical line. Then if we take our line and we curve it, it becomes much more organic, right? Curves are happy shapes. They're creative, they have rhythm, they're generous, they give pleasure to the viewer, and they are considered feminine. Basically anything that's like light and soft and nice is feminine. Anything that's like hard and pointy and could kind of look like a penis, masculine. Because the psychologists love that. So anyway, whatever. Feminine, masculine. But you can all laugh at that. Okay, so curves, are happy shapes, right? They're fun shapes. And then the opposite of curves would be also an organic shape, but a much more aggressive organic shape, right? Would be sharp angles, like this lightning bolt shape, right? Liveliness, anger, action, masculinity, because it looks like a penis again, right? So hard versus soft, happy versus aggressive or mad. So you can now kind of see how the types of lines that you choose to put in your logo could definitely have a strong impact into how people are perceiving your brand or your company that you're designing this logo for, right? Just even looking at this nice curve versus the sharp lightning bolt shape, they really feel like two different tones, even though they're set in the same color, they're kind of set to the same size. They're really saying two different things when you're just looking at this slide. So that's sort of what we're doing here. And then my last shape are spirals. So I think spirals are really close to curved lines. And I feel like it's a little hard to tell whether your spiral is going clockwise or counterclockwise. But I guess depending on how it was depicted, a viewer might be able to get a sense of swirling in or swirling out. So clockwise would be swirling out. And so that would be incompleteness, intention to go somewhere because you're traveling out around the circle, going further and further out, versus counterclockwise, you would be swirling in on yourself. So that could be completeness, intention fulfilled. You're traveling inward to a destination. So spirals. All right, those are all your basic shapes. Hopefully that kind of got your brain thinking about your logos that you guys are developing, and are you using the right types of shapes? It could even be something as simple as if you had a square and your type was just set inside a square, should your square have sharp edges or should it have softer edges, right? Should your square be sitting on a flat side or should it be tilted on a point? Should it be skewed into more of that like rhombus speed shape, right? Should it be set as a trapezoid? So just be thinking about it. Those would be subtle changes to a logo that you're developing, but would have a really big visual impact, unconscious impact on the viewer, on how they perceive this company or product. So be thinking about that and complete my quick little exercise. Exercise 5. Exercise 5 on psychology of shapes. Really, if you can justify your answers, you're going to get it right. So don't stress too much. Use the cheat sheet and have some fun exploring these different logos that I've given you in the exercise. All right, good luck, guys.